So, and I apologize because there was an interruption, a disruption here in the studio. But the point was, I was talking about the gun control bills, and one of the big questions that I have to ask, and I really think is important that we need to talk about, is why are we not hearing more about the Maryland attack? That this attempt, this bomb plot that was there, and also the one in Islamburg, New York. Why are we not hearing more about these cases? Why are we not hearing this as national news, where we're talking about people who are circumventing all of these things that are supposed? I'll tell you why I think it is. Because the fact is, you're not going to be safe. That none of the laws that are being passed in New York, in Colorado, in Maryland, in California, in Chicago, none of this is going to make you safer. It's not. It's not going to make you safer for a single day. And if you're trying to sleep well at night saying, well, I'm safer because the government has more control, and me as an individual and all the other individuals in this nation, the citizens here, we have that much less power, we have that much less freedom, and that'll let me sleep well at night because I'm safer. No, you're not. Not for a moment, not for a second. Let's dispel that illusion. You're not safer because the government has more power. And the proof is in the Islamberg plot that was done by kids who are under the age of 20 making bombs, and a gentleman, a crazed individual who was going out and using a car. He was planning to use a truck to copy the kind of insanity that we saw in Nice, France. Guess what? You're not being safer. The government having more power isn't giving you safety. It's just the government having more power. But that's one of the things, and I did want to finish up that thought from the prior segment before we go further. So I did want to finish that thought there. So let's also go and take a look at something else that I think that's important. And these are things that no one's really talking about. You're not hearing this in the news. I mean, everyone's talking about Barr, the AG Barr, and we're hearing about the Mueller report and when is that coming out. And quite honestly, that's not very important. Today I was listening to Congressman Anthony Brindisi of the New York 22nd District. He's talking about getting rid of robocalls, which, by the way, it's a nuisance. Yes, I think that's pretty neat. But as many callers locally spoke about in the New York 22nd District, it's great that you're getting rid of robocalls. Is that really the best that you can do? Is this the best we can expect from the Democrats? What have they been looking at? In the Democratic Party, since they took over, they got power in 2018, they won the elections for the midterm, Nancy Pelosi's at the helm, and what are we looking at them doing? They're going after 6 years of President Trump's tax returns. They're looking at the Mueller report, which they were screaming about that they were going to prove everything for them. It proves nothing except that they were wrong. And now they're investigating the Mueller report, looking for every single word to try and give some credibility back to their allegations that had no proof. What else are we seeing? What else are they doing? Robocalls? Really? Is that the best that we can do, is get rid of robocalls? Is that what Congress is looking at right now? Really? And, I know Anthony Brindisi for 6-7 years now. I knew him I knew him back in the New York State Assembly. I've known him, I've interviewed him. He won't come on this program and do the interview he has promised for the last 2.5 years. I don't know why, but that's okay. But I have to say, is that the best that we can expect from a member of Congress? Is that the best that we can expect from our Congress right now? Tax forms that have nothing to do with going forward in the nation or improving the nation. A Mueller report that has already discredited their claims, that they're searching for every single word to try and still make the case of collusion for whatever reason, and obstruction for whatever reason, even though it doesn't exist. And they're doing robocalls. Is this what America is about? Is this the best we can expect from our government? Is this... Remember, members of Congress are elected to represent the people. In the case of the New York 22nd District, it was about 50.1% of the people elected Representative Anthony Brindisi. Okay. Do you think they were they there saying, gee, we have horrible unemployment in the New York 22nd District, Utica, and the poverty rates in Utica, the poverty rates in Binghamton, throughout the New York 22nd District are some of the highest in the nation, and definitely in New York State. The lack of jobs is incredible in these regions, and we are losing population. Do you think in that environment where we have few jobs, few well-paying jobs, where we have people leaving because of high taxation, where we have people who are in poverty and looking for a way to better their lives, do you think anyone really cares about whether or not they get an extra robocall, or whether or not the president made $1 billion or $900 million over the last 6 years? Do you really care? Is that going to change your life? Is that what you elected someone to do? Because I can't imagine that anyone elected anyone to go through someone to do a tax audit. That's not, by the way, it's actually a point of law. The president and every president always gets a tax audit once they get elected. So that's already being done. The IRS is already doing an audit and already done an audit on President Trump. Why is Congress doing an audit on the president? That's not important to the nation. Iran, as I mentioned in the last segment, is talking about killing everyone in America, whether you're part of the far left, if you're part of the far right, if you're anyone and everyone, whether you're a libertarian, you're a conservative, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, they want to kill us all. They don't care. And you know what? Finding out what happened on the taxes for President Trump, or any president for that matter, really makes no difference. That's a cosmetic. That's politicking. It doesn't make a difference. 2 years plus into his presidency, it doesn't make a difference. We're focusing on the wrong thing. But remember, the reason why they're looking at these things, these distractions, is because they don't want you to remember certain things. And they don't want you to think about certain things. Kind of like if you remember, Bill Maher. Bill Maher had a very interesting statement that he made, and this was back on June of 2018, just before the 2018 election. What did Bill Maher say? Bill Maher said, there it is. Bill Maher mentioned that he wants to crash the economy, that he hopes the economy will crush. That's what we're looking at from the left. They want an economy that's not going to do well. Because if they can get that, you're not going to be completely distracted. If the economy goes bad, then that's bad for President Trump and good for them. For the 30 candidates that are running on the Democratic ticket. That's what they're looking for. And I have to tell you, I'm terrified of that. That's a horrible thing. And how are they doing this? They're doing this by very simply going out there and taking away jobs. Now, this is reported by Forbes. This was reported by Forbes magazine on, I believe it was just this week. I can't find the date. It was just a couple of days ago. And it's thanks to, there it is. April 3rd, it was April 3rd, last week, that Forbes published the article, thanks to the fight for $15 minimum wage, small businesses close and employees are laid off. This is in New York State. And this is also this is in Seattle. This is everywhere that the $15 minimum wage has been done. And you know who's responsible for this? SEIU. That's right, the Services Employees International Union, who is working with, guess who? Black Lives Matters. That's right. As the article notes, which I believe is an opinion piece, but in Forbes, in an attempt to increase their impact, the fight for $15 has partnered with activist group Black Lives Matter for tomorrow's protest, for a protest that was last week. This is part of the effort from the SEIU, who have spent about $90 million to get $15 an hour wages. And those wages, as predicted by the CBO in 2014, are losing people's jobs. People are losing jobs because of this. They're destroying the economy. People are no longer eating out in Manhattan, just like they stopped in Seattle. Businesses have closed, just like they did in Seattle. This has had a negative impact. It has increased the cost of doing business, so everyone is paying more. It is not helping the poorest people. It makes it worse for them. They have less hours, they have less work, and everything they need to buy costs more. Nobody wins in that scenario. It's not worth the trade-off. Kind of like with the red flag legislation, you're not getting anything for what you're being told. You're being sold a pipe dream. And that's really sad. That's really bad. And it's very annoying. And let's think about this. Again, Bill Maher said that he wants to crash the economy. Democrats want to crash the economy. And the $15 an hour wage is doing that. And they want to do it because if you go to and look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we just had the monthly data come out for March. Where is the economy right now? Remember, this is an economy that we were told before in the 2016 election. In 2017, we were promised this, that the economy we'd be in a recession, if not a depression, that President Trump would destroy the economy, that cutting taxes would destroy the economy, even though it's been promised for 30 years by every president of every party. No. What happened is, and this is the data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics directly, what do we see? We see that the number of people not in the labor force that increased by over 15 million under President Obama has stayed exactly the same. It's flatlined. We're not seeing people not try to get jobs. They're going out there and working. We're seeing that the unemployment rate is at 3.8%, holding steady, which is down from last year, even though we have more people in the workforce. We have more people working today than we did a year ago, and the unemployment rate is lower today than it was then. And the people who were not part of the labor force, people who are not counted, still are not being counted. That means we have a positive economy. That means we're going on the right track. But when was the last time you saw CNN or MSNBC or any of the major news networks talk about how good our economy is, how well it is working, or how badly the $15 an hour minimum wage has been hurting people? When was the last time you heard that? Because that's a really important thing. And I have to ask you, why aren't they telling you that? Why won't they let you know that? What is it they're trying to give you? What kind of impression? They're talking about how horrible everything is, how the economy is doing so badly. So badly. Everything is going bad. You know, Trump is bad for everyone. Everything is going bad. But while they keep saying that, you know what we're not seeing? A bad economy. We're seeing people do better, except in places like New York State or California, which have ridiculous debts. New York State has over $2 billion debt loss. We lost revenue on top of the debt that we have. And so the answer, and that was because we have high taxes. So the answer by Andrew Cuomo was, let's increase the taxes. Yeah, that's kind of shocking. The answer was, let's increase taxes. Because driving people out, that's okay. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. And we got to remember, look at this. And one of the biggest numbers that I always like to follow here is this one right here. That is the self-employed, the number of small businesses in the nation. And we can see that that's been hovering around 9 million. That is a very important number because that's why we have such a low employment rate. The closer we are to 9 or more million, that's the number of small businesses, that's mom and pops, that's people getting jobs, getting employed, growing businesses, improving our trade. That's what helps the nation grow. That number, by the way, was down around, was under 7 million under President Obama because he believed government creates business and the economy tanked. This is the difference. No one's telling you this, and they really need to. We really need to focus on what's going well, because if we don't, we're going to be in big, big trouble. So I'm going to take another very quick break. We'll come back with the last couple of minutes of the show, and